Hey everybody, welcome to the TonyHoffmanRacing.com podcast. I'm Tommy McCallister and I'm joined by former Double A pro Tony Hoffman. Tony, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, bro? How are you?
I'm doing good. Before we get into the races and stuff, you're a man of many hats. I'm sure it was a super busy summer for you. What's been going down?
Super, super busy summer. I'm actually kind of glad it's not as busy as it was, but between the Free Will Project, which most people that know me is a nonprofit organization that I started several years ago in 2011, and it's an action sports youth mentoring organization. And one of our big focuses is BMX racing with our BMX summer camp. So between the summer camp and then obviously my training with athletes in the summertime can get a little hectic because I have kids that normally I would pick up around 3:30 after school. I have them not in school, so the Fresno heat, with it being over 100 degrees, generally we've got to get our training done early, and then I've got my pro athletes that also need to be done in the morning, so I've got to get up, 5 o'clock and get some of these younger kids done early enough so that my pros can get training outdoors without being in the extreme heat. So, and then speaking is the other thing that I do, and so I've been traveling a lot speaking, and so just between the three, the summer has been hectic, but I enjoy being busy, and I got what seems like a 2-week, 3-week vacation here not long ago with most of my athletes traveling around and racing and not being home. So it's been good, man.
Right on. Well, for sure. If everybody doesn't know me, like I said, my name is Tommy McCallister. I race 28 to 35. Expert, and this is my first year as coaching as well. Been mentored by Tony for some years now, so and we've been buddies, and so it's cool to get this podcast going. Cool, dude. Let's jump right into it. So the
Okay.
Supercross series this year, I mean, been an exciting one, but it's a little bit different without it really being like a qualifying year. So we had some people missing some rounds and whatnot. But one thing I was definitely happy about was the new format where time trial wasn't the way you necessarily were getting into the race with the actual qualifying now made it definitely better. I don't know. What do you think about that, dude? You like the new
Yeah,
format?
the new format is definitely way better. One, as a spectator, you know, the time trial thing is so exhausting. It's like, oh my God, we're still watching people do one lap right now to qualify for this race, and it's been 3 hours or however long it was. I think one year in Chula Vista, it was like it started and it was daylight, and by the time they were done, it was so late at night. Like it was just unreal. And most of the people aren't going to make the race. That's not a way to spend money or national team's money or your parents' money or whoever's funding you to a race. It's just not a good way to do it. So this year having the races for the guys is a step in the right direction. I still think we're running way too many races in a weekend, but you know what? I'm a new school guy, and there's a lot of old school guys that'll probably hear that and be like, "What is he talking about? We raced 4 gazillion weekends a year and raced Pro Open, Cruiser, and Class, and we made it work." But you know what? You might have done that, but that doesn't make it right. And from a performance standpoint, I think that our pros could be faster, but it's going to require some changes still in the racing format and how you qualify for a main event and how many laps we're running in a weekend. But uh, the time trialing thing disappearing for everybody is definitely a good thing in my opinion.
No, I totally agree. I just couldn't stand seeing people like flying across the world and blow a clip or something like that and just being out, after one chance of making it in, that was definitely not a cool thing. And I'm sure the racers are happy about the new format as well.
Yeah, I haven't talked to anybody about it, and I'm sure most people are. But at the end of the day, really, I mean, you just have a better chance of getting lucky and getting into a race with the new format. I don't know that it's really changed the overall dynamics of who's getting in and who's not getting in, you know?
No, for sure, I still think yeah, the majority of the people are getting in, unless it's like a bad luck thing before, like I said, with losing a clip or just randomly sliding out or something like that. But yeah, most of the same cats are still getting in or whatnot.
Right.
Well, the big thing for me, dude, is I mean, and it's been kind of this way for a couple of years, is dude, the girls racing has really stepped up, and I almost enjoy the girls almost more than the guys lately racing. It's kind of like I'm a big MMA fan, and the females have jumped big time up in there in the superstars, like a big fighter is Ronda Rousey, and she's like the UFC's biggest star. And the girls are kind of going that way now in BMX, which is cool to see them stand out, get a lot more hype, and a lot more people seem to be really into the girls racing. Like I said, I'm definitely am. It's been pretty cool to see.
I, I think the reason we see that is the girls have so much more room to grow. The women, as far as progression, have so much more room for improvement. And I don't say that in a negative way. I just say that in a way that, uh, we've got a lot of young women that are in sport now, who have been bred as jumpers, bred with manualing, and all of these things. So they're not necessarily learning um, so much into their pro career as much as they are getting even better at it, if that makes any sense. Um, they their jumping is you watch. I've watched Elise post and for 5 years now, right? And she wasn't very good at jumping in the beginning, but you watch her now, and I see what she's done with her jumping, and there's things that I'm talking to Brooke Crane about with her jumping, that she could take away from what Elise is doing to help better herself. And then you have girls like Mariana, who are incredible jumpers and have incredible amounts of bike control and great track speed, and having more of these girls in the sport that all can do that has really made some of the racing exciting. I think we're still missing some more girls that are genetically gifted in the sense of Mariana and Elise, and so we're missing some of the tighter racing that we could get from that class, but
Sure.
it's definitely a lot better.
No, for sure. It'd be cool to, and I'm sure it's going to be the way that goes. Whereas it gets going to be a deeper field where right now it's where they have like 32 riders or something, and it'd be cool to see them get up, to more and more riders, a deeper field and whatnot, which would definitely be cool. But the year started out good. I mean, started out in England, and Caroline won the first few races. I think she won two of the first three races, which kind of surprised me. Don't get me wrong. I think Caroline's a fantastic rider. I mean, the first race, Mariana wasn't there, and I think that first race was the race Elise got hurt at. But
In Manchester.
yeah, yeah. So he started out strong. Caroline came out doing good, and then, like I said, Mariana skipped that first race, and then posted the injury. But the first couple races went good. I mean, a couple riders stood out to me. Um, I don't know, mainly throughout the series this year. Uh, Stephanie Hernandez is a girl I didn't really know a whole lot of heading out in these this year. I heard you talk about her a little bit, but she had a super consistent year. Brooke obviously had a super consistent year. She was the highest American finisher this year in the Supercross series. So I don't know. I mean, did you say Stephanie's from Venezuela? Is that where she's from?
Yeah, she's from Venezuela. I've been watching her for the last few years, and I remember Redmond had talked about her one time, and I can't remember what the location was for the Supercross race, but she's one of Thomas Allier's athletes, and Thomas does a great job with his coaching, and you watch his athletes every year get just a little bit better, and it's a good indicator that they're on a sound training program and working hard, and obviously other things, but she's definitely one of the stronger in the class, and she's getting more skillful, and she's gonna be around as long as she can stay healthy. That's for sure.
Is she a younger rider? I mean, I just don't know much about like her age and whatnot. Um,
You know what? I wouldn't know. She's
yeah,
probably pretty young. I would imagine that, outside of a couple of those women, that they're all in their early 20s.
sure.
So I wouldn't imagine them being very old.
No,
So
no, for sure. Um, Caroline's kind of in that same boat with Barry, whereas like I like Barry on Instagram. They both are racing the mountain bikes. They're doing the pump track races. They're just always kind of all over the place and doing it. So it was kind of cool to see Caroline, come out and take the title this year and being able to, mix up her energies in so many different places rather than just focusing straight 100% all of our energy on BMX. I kind of want to live my life like Barry and whatnot. Obviously, it's not possible, but those guys kind of got a cool thing going for themselves.
I was super surprised. You see Caroline's Twitter, and she's all over the world. She's doing media appearances. She's here, she's there, and I was even wondering if she was still doing her Twitter because she was so busy. It was like, okay, does she have a PR person, tweeting for her now that she's so busy? Because
Uh-huh.
a lot of people do that, and I just had really wondered if she was going to be able to uh, sustain her performance and focus on all of the media stuff as well. And so I definitely tip my hat to her because I love Caroline. She's great for the sport. She's a self marketer of self marketers. I remember seeing her one year at the Grands, maybe 2010, and she was with Barry at the time on Claiborne, I believe. She might have been doing something with hanging out or just hanging out at the Claiborne trailer, and she had her own hats and T-shirts and signing autographs and getting people Caroline Buchanan stuff and these are things that every pro athlete should have. There's just no question about it. You know what I mean? You go to auto racing and in the pits every racer has his own hat or has his own T-shirt to sell to the fans. And in my mind, those are the kinds of things that pros can do to make themselves accessible. They make themselves more than just a rider. They make themselves something that people can take home and be proud of outside of watching them race, clapping their hands, and cheering for them. And Caroline has been at the forefront of that for a long time. And, like I said, I'm a big fan of hers. I was really surprised. I was surprised that she was able to maintain it, and it just goes to show how good she is at what she does.
No, for sure. Um, Now, what's your thoughts on the U.S. girls this year? It's kind of like I said, it being that it's not like qualifying year necessarily. I mean, I know it was for the countries and whatnot, but Elise started off like I said, getting hurt, and so she was only able to come back and race a couple of races. And in typical Elise form, always comes back and always does really well. Brooke had a super consistent year. I know she missed a couple of mains, which kind of kept her out of that top three finishing for the year.
Mhm.
Um, but another girl who really stood out for me this year was Danny George. She looked really good this year. Looked like her bike handling skills was the biggest to me, the biggest improvement. I mean, I know she's always been strong, but now it looks like she's actually comfortable on the bike and actually be able to maneuver through the jumps and the turns and all that a lot better.
Yeah, I love Danny. I helped Danny for a little bit with training, and she's an all-around good person, comes from a good family, and bike handling was definitely her number one limiter for her to get to where she needed to be in racing. And I remember when I was helping her, she was one of the top performers benchmark-wise at one of the USA camps. But she was denied funding because she just wasn't able to put it together in the mock race, and that was partly due to her bike handling skills. And so to see her, now 2 years later, a year later, however long it's been, I was watching her in Chula Vista, and she looked sensational. I mean, she was coming from lane 8 and cutting off the whole race. So she's definitely going to be somebody to look out for if she can maintain that for another 2 years because next year starts points. And with every other girl, I mean, being healthy is the number one thing to me on Supercross. You just don't usually hit the ground on a Supercross track and not get up without a broken wing.
No, absolutely, and that's the kind of the bummer thing about our sport is, crashes take you out, big time for sure. Especially heading into the Olympic qualifying, that would be a devastator if like something like myself, or if I was going for like that and I crashed, it'd be just such a heartbreaking thing. Moving forward, looking forward to those to Rio. Obviously this heading into this year, I would have thought, Elise, Brooke, and Felicia would have been like the three top girls on my list who would be battling for it. Felicia didn't have the best of years. I mean, the year this year. I know last year she had that big injury, but she's decent ways removed from now, from that. it almost seems like Danny's jumped into that third spot and Felicia's kind of almost fallen back to that fourth. I mean, a lot can change obviously between now and Rio, but it's going to be a good battle heading into there.
Yeah, one thing's for sure, a lot's going to change. Felicia's her first year as a pro, and you know, in all fairness, I think that there's just growing pains, and that she's a resilient young woman, and her resume speaks for itself. And you don't win that many world championships without having the ability to do it as a professional. So she's got enough people that believe in her and support her, and make sure that she's going to get to all the races that she needs to get to. So I wouldn't be surprised if she came back next year and kind of checked the boxes that got missed this year.
Oh, for
So,
sure.
and you know, I'm going to be biased towards Brooke. I think that this year was one of Brooke's first years to, seriously consider her training, and you know, take on a diet. And one of her things was weight. She's put on enough weight that she wanted to put on for this year, and she didn't miss any days of training under my wing, and she performed well. And the times that she didn't get into the main event were mental mistakes. And so she knows as an athlete now that she's capable of doing some great things. And we've already talked about some of the goals that she's going to have for next year, and we're going to work hard to accomplish those goals. And I think that um, the things she experienced, especially at the Worlds, will be a big deal for her if she makes it to the Olympics. So being exposed to some of those situations where she made mistakes mentally that cost her some things, those offer growing experience for us as athletes. Sometimes we look at failure the wrong way, and instead of seeing failure as an opportunity to be better at the situation when we reach it again. And so I'm expecting that out of Brooke for next year, is for her to build on what we saw from her this year.
Absolutely, because she definitely looked good this year. Now obviously wasn't in the at Chula Vista this weekend. I watched online, but two totally different things from watching online than watching in person. I mean, how did the race go this weekend for the girls? I mean, it looked like it was some good racing, but it just looked like Mariana just. I mean, is she just on another level than most of these girls? I mean, I don't want to say another a whole another level because Elise is right there and whatnot, and a couple other girls are right there, but she's kind of like Sam or Maris, where she just gets the job done. Was she just kind of the one that really stood out this weekend?
Um, I think a couple things need to be taken into consideration. One, she's on another level. I think that genetically, mentally, and bike handling and racing wise, she has what it takes. She's on another level. Two, the track in general at Chula Vista. Um, I mean, even Nick Long on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram said that every time he rides London, he's scared to death. I mean, that's a male athlete telling you that. And the first straight, the females and the males have to jump the same jumps, and it's a straightaway at Chula Vista where if the girls bump down the hill, somebody's going to pull the brakes and not jump the first jump, and then they're not going to jump the second jump. So Mariana has a very good jumping ability, and she has amazing bike control, and I think that a track like that, only makes her stand out even more from the pack.
Is it? I mean, I know that I don't know. It just seems like obviously the guys' side of the Chula Vista track, super, obviously technical and scary and whatnot. Is that? I mean, is it the first straight for the girls that's also just kind of nerve-wracking on this one? Because the second straight seems, I don't want to say run of the mill of like the other cross tracks for them. Or is it like the whole track for the girls' side as well? That's
Well,
pretty technical.
and so now if you want to talk about the second straight, you've got about a 20-mile-an-hour headwind
Okay.
coming down the second straight for the women, and those jumps, um, they're not small. I mean, obviously, in the sense of the guys' side, yeah, they're not big, but me and Brooke were talking about this, the shape of the jumps, plus the headwind, and then it's the third jump, that step up that takes them into the turn. Um, it always seems like the women are tagging that jump, it's almost too wide open for them because they're losing so much speed over each jump that a lot of them end up just floating that. step up into the turn and going into there with no momentum. I actually feel bad for those girls because I can only imagine what their legs feel like going into that turn and coming out of it.
No, for sure. It definitely looked like it. The wind was there. You could see like the flags blowing, and it looked like it was strong. But on the time trial day, most of the people that were interviewing were like, "Oh, the wind's not too bad compared to last year, whatnot." But it definitely looked windy to me
Yeah.
out there. But
And you know what, man? Some people may disagree with me, and they can disagree with me, but I'm glad there's no race there next year. That track sucks. It
it's,
sucks.
I mean, it's weird that, I mean, being that they have the Beijing track as well, and it seems like everybody raves about the Beijing track, that they would have ran the London one the last 2 years rather than like maybe doing the Beijing one this year since they ran the London one.
Right, right. You know, Supercross is cool, and there's it has the potential to have great racing, and it's the Olympic, gateway. But the London track just sucks. And there's probably riders that are going to disagree with me. Oh, Hoff, you can't ride that track, and it's a fun track to ride, and I'm glad you can ride that track. But watching races on that track sucks. I mean, I watched Liam Phillips get taken out in a quarter. I believe it was a quarter,
Yeah, it was.
going over a hip jump. That's stupid. I'm going to say it's stupid, and he would have come back. If there was a regular track, he would have come back, and he would have been resilient. But because there was a hip jump in a BMX racetrack, a guy that was on the outside of him jumped across, and basically Liam had nowhere to go, and it spun him out. And the dude's going to hit the ground, and his legs pointed straight out. He's risking a knee injury, ankle injury over a dumb hip jump. Or the step up that I watched 4 million people crash on over the course of the weekend. I just think that tracks can be progressive, but they don't need to be a circus show. And so to not have that race next year, there is, in my eyes, a good thing because that facility at Rock Hill looks much better. The racing works a lot better when guys can actually focus on going fast and not having to get over a jump with the greatest precision so they don't crash, if that makes any sense.
No, absolutely. You don't want the track inhibiting the racing or pick who wins and loses and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yes, it was a good year for the girls. We didn't call them that, but definitely looking forward to next year and then into the Olympics for them. Super excited to watch the progression. Um, Now on the men's side of thing, Liam is a guy that I just don't know a whole ton about, because we get so many foreigners racing our series over here, and he just never comes over and races. And it seems like none of the British guys do. I mean, obviously we have Shanae that comes over and races the girls this year, but
Mhm.
just that whole program I don't know anything about. So to watch Liam, last year, and I mean, obviously even heading obviously into London, he was a favorite and whatnot. But that's a guy who obviously comes out in Manchester, obviously his home track, and dominates and wins. But this guy is definitely a guy who sticks out to me in his first straight, super solid. Um, but like I said, I don't know a ton about them or their program. And do you know much about him?
Um, the only thing I know about him is that he's backed by Sky. And when you're backed by Sky, you've got a lot of money behind you. So I can only imagine what they're doing over there to help, make him successful. Uh, he's probably the most favorite guy for me to listen to talk uh, about winning and being on the podium. Most BMXers have a lot of the BMXer mentality, and they don't have much insight, and that's not to knock them because they don't have to have that. But when I've always been a fan of interviews because of the insight that you can gain from an athlete that gets interviewed. And you listen to Kobe Bryant interview, or you listen to Shaquille O'Neal talk about basketball, and I'm going to say basketball because I love basketball. And you listen to Kevin Garnett talk, and when you listen to them talk about winning or losing, it's like you learn something. It's like you learn how a champion perceives their game or their craft. And you know, to listen to Liam talk when he won the world championships last year was just I don't it was awesome. Like he talked about it not just being him. He talked about the people that were around him, the work that went into his training program, all of this stuff. And I just uh, I don't know much, but I do know that Team Sky puts more money into their cycling programs, whether it's road, velodrome, BMX, or whatever it is. If it's two wheels and you pedal it, Team Sky is dumping millions and millions of dollars into their athletes, and I can only imagine that he's on a cream of a crop program. We don't see him in the States, so he's obviously very focused on whatever his goals are, and I'm sure that that's an Olympic medal. And um, the USA circuit is probably not going to benefit him any for an Olympic medal. He just needs to focus on what he's doing, and he's sensational, if you ask me.
No, for sure. He's definitely a fun one to watch. And then as the series progressed for the men, I mean, like I said, it being that it wasn't a qualifying year. I mean, people were hit or miss. So Maris comes out and he wins two of the three races he was at, and then Sam won three of the races. So I mean, like those big heavy hitters were definitely winning. It would have made it a lot more fun had they all been there every time. But I mean, I totally understand why they're skipping races. I mean, the Worlds was sweet, and it would have been a sweet main event. Had Maris not blown out his tire in that turn. I mean, like I wasn't a huge fan of that World's track. Is the World's track next year at like a better place? Do you know? I mean, is it an outdoor facility? Do you know
From
much?
what I understand, it's better. It's not indoor, and it's outdoor, and it should be good.
Nice, nice.
I
So
mean,
that's
the
kind of
indoor thing sucks.
well, yeah, especially when you have a hill like that and you're in a small indoor arena. I mean, I mean, you weren't getting much pedaling down that first straight other than the hill, and then that first turn was super weird on how you could set up different things. Yeah, I mean, it was just a tight little, almost like a Reno, you know, bull arena type race. But yeah, so it came down to that last race, and I mean, Anthony Dean's super solid all year. Real consistent season. Connor was in four of the mains. I mean, I know Connor was a long shot to win the title. He needed a lot of things to happen, but obviously come down to that last race. Like you said, Liam crashing. Joris, gosh, what did he crash or he just didn't make it out of one of the
I just
rounds?
don't think he made it.
I think that's what it was as well. Yeah, he just didn't make it out. So it kind of left it wide open for Anthony Dean to make it in there to grab this title, and then he got squirrely down down that third straight, and that was his semi, right?
You know what? I'm not even sure.
I think it was his semi because I think he was the last one left out of all the people who were gonna most likely win
Mhm.
the title, and came out and looks. I don't know if he unclipped, came sideways or whatnot, but yeah, went down, and then all the big guys were out, which left Liam to take the title.
Yep,
Um,
yep. And
so
uh, on the Dean thing, he's gonna be good, man. He's still a young kid too. He did consistent, and I think that goes to show, even Brooke was sitting in second. Not to go back to the girls, but Brooke was sitting in second with, you know, main events on her resume for the year. And Dean was just putting himself in all the right spots and making main events and being consistent, and that's what it takes to win a title. The only thing else you need to add to that is throw some wins in there.
no, for sure, it's kind of like the motorcycles, the Supercross. That's what they always say. You just got to be consistent throughout the whole series if you want the title at the end of it.
Yeah, and now I will say I thought it was stupid. I think me and Bryce Betts were talking about it, but a rider gets 65 points just for showing up.
And how
And
much
I
is it for the win?
Oh, it was like
250, I
was
think
it
maybe.
250, yeah, or something. And I just thought to myself, wait a minute, why does a rider get 65 points just for showing up? It just seemed like too many. So because we were looking at it, okay, is it possible for Brooke to win? Well, Brooke would have had to win on Sunday, or excuse me, Brooke would have had to win the Supercross race, and Caroline get last in semis
Okay,
because Caroline got 65 points just for showing up.
for sure.
I don't know. Maybe somebody can sit me down and put a sock in my mouth, but it just seems like a lot of points just to show up.
For sure. I mean, it could be, they're trying to give everybody points just to kind of keep the series, closer or whatnot. I mean, who
Yeah.
knows, there's a writer that I've kind of watched, right before heading into London that kind of stood out to me, and I've always liked the Dutch team. Twan van Gent. I mean, he's a younger guy, and heading into London, I was putting him to make it on the podium. I mean, I know he wasn't had like a bunch of wins and all this other stuff, but I was at the Chula Vista race. I don't know if that was that year that was heading into London or the year before. I think it was the year that was going into London, and he was just blowing me away race after race. And then obviously he didn't get on the podium at London, but I think he got a fifth there, which is sweet. And then he comes back at the next year and he wins that Red Bull race. I mean, I know there's not much to be said about the Red Bull race, but still picks up the W. And then I think he got hurt the rest of the year and was kind of coming back. But this year he had a bunch of solid finishes this year as well. I just like that whole Dutch. I don't know. It seemed like they got a good vibe about that whole Dutch program um, and everything they got going on.
Yeah, they remind me of basketball teams when I was a kid that had these real militant warm-up routines before the game to just intimidate people.
Okay.
Uh, you know what I'm saying? Like they look good visually from afar. Their riders are skilled. They just do everything together. It seems. Um, Yet me, all the I look at is all the athletes that have retired in the last 3 years have all said the same thing, that they were overtrained. Uh, so it's like, you look at that and you're like, okay, well they're militant, they work together, but if they're all being overtrained, are they really going as fast as they could? Twan's an incredible athlete. In fact, I think he was probably the only guy outside of Connor Fields that I thought was going to be able to match Sam down the first straight.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he had a good day. I can't remember what he got finished at Chula, but he had a definite.
I'm pretty sure it was Twan. I don't think it was Jelly, but
No, no. I always get, dude, I get those Dutch guys mixed up outside of Twan, like Jelly Van Gorkum and Raymond Vanderbees, and I always get those two mixed up for some reason. I don't know if it's just because their names are kind of, I don't want to say they're simple or similar, but I don't know.
yeah,
I always get all those guys mixed up.
right, right.
Um, I don't know. So the American men. I mean, obviously Connor, pretty pretty solid year this year. I mean, he made it. He made it. I think it was like four mains. Didn't get his wins that he was looking for, but kind of made a resurgence at the end of this year. Obviously, was winning the worlds, um, and then that second turn whole thing happened. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was the track that got him or what, but great race. And then David Herman, as always, super solid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Corbin had a decent year this year. I mean, he's kind of been a guy that like last year or whatnot, just didn't seem to be in that many mains, whether it was the USA circuit or Supercross. But he kind of turned it on a little bit this year. And then obviously there's a bunch of the younger guys um, that are coming up that I'm definitely impressed by. I mean, it was cool to see Nick Long pick up that second. Actually, heading into the main at Chula, when they were on the gate, I was like, I think Nick's gonna win this race right here and beat Sam. Obviously, it didn't happen. He picked up a solid second, but that's a guy, as in Nick, who's like he said, he hadn't been in a Supercross main event since 2011,
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't even realize. I mean, I knew he kind of had a rough go of it there for a while, but that's kind of blew my mind. But it was cool to see him kind of turn it around.
Yeah, his turnaround is looking good. We'll see how long he can hold on to it. Um, I think he's doing some new things or working with his dad again, which um, history shows has always worked best for him. Herman is probably the number one standout for me. He's just really been consistent, and I think Connor's had. I mean, making mains is great, but Connor's had obviously the worst season he's had, and I think his pro career so far. And which is tough to see, because you're used to having, him carry the Americans in a sense on his back with some great results, and so you can only imagine how frustrated that guy probably has been after this season. And I'm sure, just kind of like the Felicia thing, he's just gonna take the season, the off season, and recoup mentally and come back and tick all the put a check mark next to all the boxes that got missed this year. Barry did good too, I thought. Uh, Barry was, in the mix in most of the races, and don't forget about Cesar.
Where
Uh,
was Cesar this weekend?
you know what? I'm not sure. So um, I'm not really sure what happened there, but he wasn't racing, and then I still think that he could be a big threat for an Olympic contender if he's. I think he kind of reminds me of Bubba Stewart on the bike. He's
Super
real.
fast, but
Yeah, well, he's super fast, but he's super twitchy.
uh-huh.
And like he whips over every jump, and it looks great for the camera and it looks good to watch, but I think that the old saying, "You just need to slow down to go faster,"
Hmm.
uh, it would be very beneficial to him. And obviously, he rides a bike better than I've ever rode a bike, and I respect his talent uh, greatly. But I think that if he just relaxed and took some of the flash out of his game and just got around the track and did what he needed to do to get around the track, that he might find himself executing more consistently. But with that said, the guy's first year is back this year, and he did an incredible job, and he's only going to get better next year. So even if he didn't do anything that I thought he might need to do, he's still going to be better, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him on a podium in a Supercross race next year.
Oh, absolutely. He's definitely a guy that obviously I root for, and I know you root for, just because of his whole story of, drug abuse and all that, and we both kind of went down that path ourselves. So I definitely pull for him at every race, to see the guy succeed, and that would be definitely a cool story,
Absolutely.
if he was able to make the Rio team, moving forward and doing that. So definitely cool to see him. What he can put together for the next few years. Some of the riders that
Absolutely.
this weekend at Chula, and I know we were texting about it. Um, Jeremy Rommel, I mean, he came out of nowhere. I mean, obviously he's on the USA BMX circuit, and I see him at a bunch of races, and he's not one of those guys that is out there that an A pro that's just blowing people away, and he'll get a win here and there and whatnot, but he's like kind of like the Caesar guy where you're saying he's flashy, in practice he's putting together crazy lines, jumping all this, but he's not like, you know, a world beater out there. And then I hadn't seen him for months, and I was even asking myself this summer, I'm like, where's Rommel been? I mean, I didn't know if he had like just stepped back for a while or whatnot. And then I started hearing his name recently, and then I saw him in Reno,
Uh-huh.
and then all of a sudden, yeah, in qualifying, dude's looking like a completely different rider. And I know me and you were texting about this, and that his first three pedals, and obviously the guy can ride a bike, so now
Right.
that he's got his first three pedals, he was pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's definitely been training. That's probably what he's been doing. Well, he hasn't been racing. He had some guys that were following him around that I assumed were his coaches, never seen him before. So he's taken things more serious. Having been around the guy a couple times in the past, his biggest downfall was just the lifestyle. I think, uh, dirt jumps every day and 16 In-N-Out burgers, eat at Denny's, and drink a bunch of soda, and it's just not going to work if you want to be elite. Like
No, for
you're
sure.
not going to do that if you want to be elite. And so I think his lifestyle was the biggest performance hinderer for him in the past, and it looks like he's taking things more serious, which I even told Bill at Supercross was great to see, and that you know what he could do some damage because the kid can ride a bike. But Rome wasn't built overnight, and you can start training and start going fast, um, but can you persevere when the training doesn't bring the results that you think they should? That's when you really find out who's going to make it and who's not. Randy Stumphauser is a good friend of mine, and we always talked about things, and he would talk about guys that would come into pro, and he said most of them don't make it in elite. They don't have what it takes to train day in and day out, year after year, regardless of the result. And that'll be a test for Rommel. He can ride a bike, we all know that. But can he climb the mountain of being an elite and what it's going to take to get into main events and sustain his career? I think he has what it takes, but we'll see. We'll see how he goes next year.
No, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, no, you thought, he could be a guy that could possibly make the main this weekend, and he was looking good. I think it was his quarter, and he was kind of, I don't want to say stuck back in the pack, but down that second straight, he made some moves, and then diving into that second turn, he bumped up into third just for a second. And what is that? It's like a double or a step up in that weird little turn there, and then he just had to boost it super high and
Mm.
lost all of his speed heading for that rhythm section. And then yeah, just everybody kind of, or I don't want to say everybody, but a couple people passed him there, and then it was over for him. But it was definitely a good showing by him.
I said he was going to make the main.
Yeah, that's what you said.
I said he was going to make the main.
Yeah,
Watch him in practice. The only thing that was going to stop him to me was his mind, and he looked great. So, I mean, I called him for making the main.
yeah. So cool. Um, but the race was a good race. I was like I said, there was a disappointment not seeing Cesar there. I was wondered why Maris wasn't there, being that he lives in California and he was in Argentina. I figured that he'd be racing the Chula race. But it was a good race. Connor just nearly missed from making the main, which was a surprise to me. It was a surprise to me that gosh, was it Herman that got gate pick over him, and Connor had gate two there.
Yeah.
That was just weird to me because Connor won his race. I mean, I know it goes by time, and I
Mhm.
think Herman got second in his. I mean, I don't know, that his race just must have been that much faster or whatever, just be picking up that second.
Yeah.
So, what the
You know
main?
what? Connor, if it was Tuan was the only guy I thought was going to be able to run with Sam down the first straight, and Connor was taking care of Tuan in motos. Um, I thought, for a while there, I was thinking, man, Connor's going to, he's going to go play a crappy season with the podium finish, of some kind, and it looked like something happened at the bottom of the hill for him. He was winning the race, and something happened at the bottom of the hill, and David and Tuan got ahead of him, and that made it tough for him to get out. That was one of the shockers, but same with Liam and Joris,
Yeah, you just never know,
Yeah,
especially in our sport that's just sided. A lot of
that's
times
the
with
good thing
one
about our sport.
of them.
It is. It is. You know what I mean? There needs to be that variable of anything can happen.
No, for sure, it definitely makes it exciting. Yeah, when that gate stacks up, I mean, just even watching, from home, and obviously I know it'd be the same thing for you watching there, but I'm so into it, and then I'm obviously have my favorites, and then the people that I don't want to say invested in, but obviously care about more than others, and I just get nervous just watching on just on TV, on the computers. So it is cool to see because anything can happen. It's not like when we watch the motorcycle supercross race, Villapoto is going to go out there and most likely win, but we don't know
Right.
that in our sport, something that can change in just a hundredth of a second when that red light goes on the gate. I mean, your race could be over with, right there. Um, so yes, I mean, obviously Sam went out, handled his business, um, and won. I mean, Sam's just, I mean, he's got the physical attributes, he's got the mental attributes. He's just got something about him. Like same with like Mariana. I was listening to an MMA podcast the other day, and they were talking about this freestyle wrestler who's a four-time national champion in four different weight classes, and he was saying when the biggest spotlight's on is when he's the most comfortable, he's the most at home, most at peace, but yet ready the most to get the job done. Whereas I
Mhm.
feel like a few athletes only have that. A lot of people have the physical attributes to get it done, but the mental to go along with it is so huge. And I mean, that's got to be such a huge thing for somebody like Sam or Maris, to be up there and just get it done time after time.
Yeah, Sam's a winner, man.
Yeah,
Sam's a winner, dude. That's winners win. I've watched that guy mess up in a semi, and you'd think that he'd come back and pout about it and throw in the towel and say that he's not going to be able to win from the outside and just win from the outside. He's uh, he's a very, I think, a rare type of human being. Same with Maris. Randy Stumphauser was the same, and I think John Purse was the same, and pretty much every great champion possesses that.
no, absolutely.
There is no doubt. You know, it's
Yeah,
it's it's only it's not. I don't think I'm going to be able to win from lane eight. It's okay. Looks like I have to win from lane eight.
yeah.
It's not what I wanted, but now I'm just going to win from lane eight. You know what I mean? Not how am I going to do this. I'm going to go do this. I think it's just a totally different internal thought process that some of these guys have. There's just no doubt in their mind that they are the best in the world. And Ricky Johnson, who's a supercross champion in motocross, is a family friend of ours. Um, he told me when I came back to BMX, when I got out of prison, he said, you know what, you're going to have to figure out how to get up every morning and look in the mirror and tell yourself that you're the best in the world and believe it. And there's a champion. You know what I mean? That guy's killing it in Torque Truck Series. Like he's been in NASCAR trucks. He's done a lot of things, dude, and he's just got that thinking that he is the best no matter what. And it doesn't matter what he's going to do, he's the best. And I'm sure that with Sam and Maris and just like all those other guys I mentioned.
No, for sure. I mean, it'd be a pretty cool attribute to have. I mean, I can't say that I've ever felt that way, you know. I don't know. Yeah, just be pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see how he gets it done.
Yeah.
Almost every time, you know.
Hmm.
I'm super excited for this next year's qualifying heading into the Olympics. It's going to be such a fun year. Hopefully, nobody gets any injuries. I mean, obviously it's probably going to happen for some people, but hopefully nobody does. And it's just going to be an exciting year next year to watch how it all plays out. It's going to be cool to see.
Absolutely.
Well, cool, dude. Good running down through the review and good first podcast. I'm looking forward to for talking BMX. Is obviously it's my passion. It's your passion as well, and so it's gonna be cool, bud.
Yeah, we'll have to create some segments within these podcasts and that are not just talking shop. We don't want to. Dale Holmes has got his podcast thing, where they talk shop the whole time, and we don't want to be too much like them. So we will create some segments and try and mix it up with what some people are looking for and stuff. So this is a good start, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know everybody always says you got to be unique in your own way, so we'll figure it out.
Yep,
Well, cool. We appreciate everybody listening in. Go to TonyHoffmanRacing.com. Check out Team Seahoff and what Tony offers. You can also check out mine as well, Team T Mac, and see what I can offer. But we just appreciate everybody and God bless everybody and have a great day.
yep. See you guys.